Paula P. Works here, coming at you once again with One Piece chapter 1103, entitled I'm So Sorry, Daddy. So we have a cool chapter of Jump this week because this is the chapter meant for the start of the year. So the chapter cover reflects that. We have Luffy leading the charge of all the other running series in Jump with all their main characters wearing dragon onesies because 2024 is the year of the dragon. So that's really cool. Now we also have a color spread this week, which is very interesting because the most popular dragon character that's alive currently in the manga, as far as we know, is Momonosuke. And this is his color spread, obviously. And everyone in this color spread is wearing dragon-themed t-shirts, except for Jinbei, who's wearing a dragon-themed Jinbei, because that's his whole joke. But what's super interesting about all of this is that someone other than Momonosuke is here. Someone other than the Straw Hats are here. It is Yamato. Yamato is here. What is so interesting about this is that Yamato is front and center, and something about Yamato I always thought was going to be true if she were to join the crew is that I always thought that she would keep the Odin sash, you know, the big ribbon that she wears around her waist, and then her outfits would just change. Kind of like with Zoro. Like, he would change clothes, but he would keep the belly warmer. I thought it would be like that for her. And the reason why this is so important with her here now is because this is the first time she's wearing something other than her default, like, Odin cosplay. That is fascinating to me. Now, does she need to be here? No. Which makes it even more fascinating because what does this mean? I don't think this is just your run-of-the-mill average color spread. With her here alone, basically, with no other characters from Wano other than Momonosuke himself, it's just all super interesting. Also, Frankie's hair is in the style of a dragon, which is very good. But yeah, it's very interesting because what does this mean exactly? What is this? Why is she here specifically? It's a very interesting thing to think about. And then to have her here for the first time in an outfit that's not her default outfit. And she's wearing light green, which is an also very interesting choice. I don't think that would be her color if she were to join. I'm kinda on the side of her color being teal because do you remember that weird bath towel leak that came out like 2 years ago, and every Straw Hat had their color in the background, including at that point Jinbei, whose color is ochre. Her color was teal. It was like this weird blue-green color. So if anything were to be her color, it'd be that, which is kind of the color of her hair. So that makes a lot of sense. But yeah, she's here. I can't really believe she's actually here, which leads me to think that she is going to join the crew at some point. I would not be shocked, because I've said this before in the past. I would not be shocked if the next, like, cover story is her adventures as Odin in Wano. I kind of hope Page 1 and OT join her for those adventures, but I think that would be really cool. And then it ends with her leaving off to sea to go find Luffy and the others. I think that would be really sick and really cool if that were to happen. Another thing, more Jinbei slander this week, but another thing that's really interesting about this color spread is that Jinbei is in the back. And it's interesting because this has happened a few times now. I remember there being a color spread, I think almost over a year ago now, in which the Straw Hats are on a train. And you get a visual inside one of the boxcars and all the Straw Hats are together. But then you also get a visual of outside of the train. And not Kuma. There is a Kuma with Jinbei. But Jinbei is sitting on top of the boxcar way in the back. accompanied, I want to say, by a black bear, because I think this was a promotional color spread of some sort. I cannot recall. I'll try to find it and put it up on screen around here. But yeah, that was really weird. And there have been a few of them that have been like that, in which Jinbei is sort of cut off from the rest of the group. He's over there in the corner somewhere. And I can only remember like a few times in which he's been front and center. Like the one time that's very much like this color spread here, in which Momonosuke is a part of it, and Jinbei's in the foreground, but he's like lounging, and that's like one of the times where he's not wearing a shirt, which is interesting. But we never see his back, which is also very interesting, I feel. Because not even in the manga proper have we ever seen Jinbei's back when it's bare. So that's odd. But yeah, moving on. Okay, so we're gonna skip around a little bit, guys. Here's the thing. I just want to touch on this first. We actually get to see Bonnie apologizing to Vegapunk, and we see that Kuma actually left her a beautiful sapphire necklace that looks like the sun, which again just goes into the whole sun motif that she has had for the longest time. And this necklace also looks like the sun pattern that is on her stockings usually. So that's really neat. However, here's the most interesting thing about Bonnie. I was right, y'all. I was right. I was right. I called everything. I called everything. Okay. I gotta tell you what happened. So I had said in my age video number 2 that how Bonnie's whole power worked was that it only reflected possible futures, something possible for a human to achieve in One Piece. I knew it wasn't this full-on Devil Fruit copying thing that a lot of people memeing that it was. I just didn't think that was possible, because that would end up being very lore breaking and weird. And we find out that that's exactly the case, because Saturn explains what her power actually is. Now, on top of that, my co-host Zach from the Roll Skull podcast pointed out a while ago how weird it was that she just has the fruit at one point as a child. We find out that when she was born, experiments were conducted on her to see if you could infuse what I assume to be the Devil Fruit essence into a child without them actually eating the fruit. Therefore, this makes me think a lot of things. Number one, that means, from Saturn's words, that there is a fruit out there that is the age-8 fruit that has no power. Because he says when they extracted whatever it is from the Devil Fruit to give to her, she has the power now, but the fruit itself is useless. So there is a possibility there is someone out there in the world who has eaten the age-8 fruit and not gained any abilities, which I find hilarious in itself. But what's also very interesting is that she can't age Saturn, which is another thing Zach thought about. And thought that this would be the case, because we saw, like, way back in the flashback when we see Kuma's childhood, is that Saturn looks the same as he does back then, like some 40 odd years ago, that he does right now. So he has never aged. So it could be that he is simply ageless because of whatever reason. And seeing as how he's a man of science, that could mean anything. But yeah, when she tries to do the distorted future on Saturn, he says this entire explanation. So the only reason why she's able to do what she's able to do, because one, it's humanly possible for a normal human to become a large human, like I mentioned in that video, but it doesn't work presumably because she starts to lose faith in Nika. So I'm thinking it's both what is possible and then what she can imagine. So her power is kind of like Gear 5th in a way. Kinda. It's based on what is humanly possible in the world of One Piece, but what she can imagine things to be, because her future is not determined yet. At least that's how Saturn puts it. So her power is childlike wonderment and what is physically possible for a human to achieve in One Piece. And like I said, humans can grow very large and get very beefy. We've seen that time and time again. Like, again, with the weird guys from the Frankie family and a whole bunch of large humans. So I called it, bruh. I'll link a thing to that video around here or whenever I put the thumbnail up for it, because that's what I usually do when I want you to look at another video I've made. But it's super interesting that I was right. I called it because what else could this be? That has to be what is meant here, because it didn't make sense for her to like become a dragon like Kaido or anything like that. That would be too lore breaking. It wouldn't make any sense. So, man, calling it on the dome. Exactly. Another weird thing is that we see that, of course, Luffy is knocked out, but somebody somewhere gives him food, and it has to be somebody out of Saturn's line of influence, because it's apparent that everyone in the surrounding area is paralyzed by some ability that he has, which is very interesting indeed. So Luffy's eating. Saturn commands the Marines to get some sea stone handcuffs on him. And Kizaru is very interesting in this entire chapter because he seems like he's kind of knocked out or is lethargic after being hit by Luffy. But it could be an excuse for him not to fight anymore because he's had to do so many terrible things in this day altogether, like kicking Bonnie, decimating Senamaru, going after Vegapunk, etc., etc. And now we know the depth of his relationship with these people. So we know why he doesn't really want to go after him, and it's just a part of the job for him. So he could actually be fatigued after being knocked out, or most likely he's using that as an excuse so he doesn't have to fight his loved ones anymore, which I think is more possible. And yeah, Kuma arrives. Kuma arrives on Egghead Island, which it's a very interesting thing because Ivankov says when talking to Dragon as they're just standing around on Kamabaka Kingdom that if Ivankov got free, he would just go storm Mary Joas to get revenge. But Kuma's not built like that. Every time Ivankov opens his mouth, an interesting thing comes out. Because that does not paint Ivankov in a positive light. And Kuma does go to Mary Joas, but I think that's because maybe he needed a pit stop in between to get to Egghead. I'm not sure why he stops at Mary Joas, actually. I think I said why before, but I forgot. Maybe he can't cross Red Line in one swoop, like in one go, maybe? I'm not sure. That's weird. I'm not sure. But yeah, Kuma arrives on Egghead Island and blocks Saturn from stomping on his child with his spider foot that's sharp like a dagger. And you remember when I said that Kuma didn't have hockey? That is made out to be a lie in this chapter because Kuma stops Saturn's foot, striking a similar pose from when we see him way back when he was a child, showing that how strong his back is, which kind of puts him in opposition to Frankie because Frankie's back, of course, is his weak point. But yeah, he blocks Saturn's foot, grabs it, and hockeys up his fist, baby. Not even the science of Vegapunk can overcome the vitality of the human spirit when a parent sees his child in peril. One Piece is good! But the important thing is his fist is blackened, it's all hockeyed up, which means he's ready to deck Saturn in the face. This also means that there's some spark of will within Kuma. He's not completely gone, which is an interesting thought. That means that there's a sliver of his humanity that powered through all the experiments Vegapunk were forced to put on him. It has survived all of that to protect Bonnie in this moment. Incredible. Simply incredible. I thought he didn't have hockey. I swear, I thought he didn't have hockey. He does here. Amazing. Incredible. Fantastic. Stupendous. I cannot believe the man is about to deck Saturn in the face. So deserved. So deserved. Especially when he was talking crazy. Because what I forgot to mention is that he says that Guinea contracting the sapphire scale disease was a drug experiment And that's why Bonnie got it as well, because she passed on the disease to her child. Also, what's interesting is that he calls Guinea wife number 8. What does that mean? I knew Saturn would start talking crazy about Guinea. I knew that he would. Oh, that's bad, bro. Oh, that's bad. What does that mean? Wife number 8 to who? Was she Saturn's 8th wife? What does that mean, brother? Also, the number 8 is a weird number. I wonder if that has any significance. Like, why is she number 8 specifically? That's weird to me. That's weird. But I want to know how that works now. Like, is that a system specifically for celestial dragons? Which, I mean, makes a lot of sense, because I could have sworn we've heard something like that when Charlos wanted to capture Shirahoshi for his own devices. So that sounds like a familiar term, but I don't think we've ever heard the wives be numbered. I don't know. That's weird to me, bruh. That is weird. Why is she number 8? I can't get beyond that. Why 8 specifically? That's so strange. But yeah, the sapphire scale disease comes from a drug experiment, which in itself is super interesting, because what does that mean? This means too that Saturn knew everything from the start and just used this whole sapphire scale disease thing as a point of leverage to get Kuma to give up his autonomy so he can have a big, cool weapon to oppress more people. Oh, One Piece is good. One Piece is good! Yes! Man, Saturn's evil. Good Lord. Woo! But now, the ending that a lot of people wanted, including myself, is I think we're going to see Kuma put Saturn on the back foot, but ultimately fail. And then we're going to see Luffy all powered up, and he's going to strike the Nika pose in front of the sun again. And I think Kuma's last moments is him going to be either standing up or kneeling, smiling, as he's looking up at the sky at Luffy. I think that's going to happen. Also, what's very interesting is that Saturn says that Bonnie is losing belief in Nika because she hasn't put 2 and 2 together that Luffy is Nika. Luffy's white form, as he says, which is Gear 5th. She hasn't put 2 to 2 together that is Nika, which that's going to be interesting in itself, because when she does put 2 and 2 together, I think that's going to change her resolve as a character, which is weird because I think she's one of the first people that we see outside of the guys who are on Wano notice how weird Luffy's bounty poster is. Like, after the defeat of Kaido, like, why did it change so drastically? That's interesting in itself, because she says that at the start of this arc. So that in itself is incredibly interesting. Especially seeing as how she hasn't put 2 and 2 together yet, which, based on, I want to say, what happens in chapter 1101, I want to say, she doesn't know what Nika looks like. So that makes sense, because she only knows that Nika has a rubbery body and he fights in a weird and wacky way, but she doesn't know what he looks like. So that makes sense as to why she hasn't put 2 and 2 together, because she has no reference for how the deity actually looks. Because if she did, this wouldn't even be a statement. So that's interesting. That's a very good use of character information. But of course, Saturn knows, because Saturn has been around presumably a long time. So yeah, that's going to be super crazy when she actually finds out that Luffy is Nika. And I think Vegapunk probably would be the one to tell her, because of course he knows the nature of what Luffy's abilities are, because we get that whole formal explanation from him way back when, like in the middle of the Egghead arc. So yeah, that's super interesting. And I think there's going to be a lot more to find out about Bonnie after all this boils down. But I wonder what's going to be said in the paper about this event. Because we see people reading the paper earlier on this chapter, and they are concerned about what the fate of Vegapunk is going to be. So that's super interesting. I wonder what's going to happen if Saturn is defeated. I saw there were a couple of people saying that Saturn's going to die in this arc. Nah. He's been hinted at being a villain for a very long time, since I think chapter 100? Can't remember the number exactly. Either 100 or 101 is when we see the 5 Elder Stars. But I don't think it's appropriate for him to die here, especially when villains don't die in One Piece, which I think is a good thing for the most part, because a lot of them are such well-developed characters that doesn't make sense just to throw them away when their arc is over. And especially seeing as how Saturn is unveiling a lot of very interesting information in this chapter alone. So that obviously means, to me at least, that there's a lot more to uncover with him, as well as the 4 other guys, and then of course Emu. But what's also very interesting is that we still don't have a Devil Fruit name for his power yet. So that's going to come into play too later on at some point. But yeah, no, Saturn is too big to be thrown away, even by a supposed defeat in this arc. I don't think so. I can't wait to see the impact from Kuma, though. I can't wait to see it, which is going to be incredible, bruh. I can't wait for that. But yeah, I can't wait for it. But yeah, this chapter is super interesting. I am now wondering if this extraction method is how we get items who have Zoan type devil fruits. I wonder, like, is there some alternative way to get an item to eat a devil fruit? Because all this time we still don't know that. But that's probably going to be coming in the future, seeing as how we're getting into situations in which a person can eat a devil fruit but not really eat it. That makes Body super unique too, because she's the first person in the series really like that. And the reason why she wasn't able to use them at a time is because, of course, she was a young child and didn't know. She just wanted to be an adult or be an age in which she was better, and therefore the ability to just activate it, which kind of goes along the lines in the explanation that we have here about her now. She wanted to be Nika. She became something adjacent or possible to be Nika, which again, I say in that video, the HH Fruit 2. But with that being said, that's all I have for you today. Give me your thoughts and Happy New Year.